Akame ga Kill is a really ballsy anime series. In last week's episode, there were two major character deaths. On the Jaeger side, there was Bowles, the flamethrower family man. And on the Night Raid side, there was Chelsea, the chick who could transform into anything. And after her head was placed on a pike and her body was dissected by Esdeath, we still don't really have time to process this. In fact, we jump right into the next arc of the series and on to the next big mission. This week's episode also introduced a number of new antagonists, the 4 Rakshasa demons. These guys are awesome for a number of reasons. 1, their designs are simple but really awesome. 2, they do not use Imperial Arms weapons. You'd think that would make them weak, but that's actually not the case. They've actually killed people with Imperial Arms. This speaks volumes for their power. And 3, one of them, actually 2 of them, get to fight against Lubbock in his very first big badass action scene of the series, and it definitely leaves a heart-exploding impression on you, if you know what I mean. So before I get into the action this week, I just want to mention some funny bits. There was actually a little bit of room for humor this week, and most of that actually came from Tatsumi and mine. It was very short, it was very sweet, and after this week's episode, I'm convinced they could probably fall for each other at this point. As much as I still thought that maybe Tatsumi and Akame were going to fall for each other because they're the main characters of the series, the more the show is evolving, I actually see Akame as more of a sister. But that's just a little bit of lighthearted humor this week to distract you from all of the bloody goodness. And that brings us to the 4 Rakshasa demons. They are awesome. In fact, only 3 of them really get showcased this week. There is this one guy by the name of Ibarra who has these weird red stitches running down his face and going down his body, and he can contort his body in a number of different ways, and that happens to be the specialty of all of these characters. They can manipulate their bodies in a number of different ways, whether that means using their actual body fluids in battle, or just stretching and wiggling all over the place, or even using their beards as a weapon. Yeah, that friggin' happens this week. But I love these guys. They're crazy, they're insane, and they're originally from the Empire, and obviously just the fact that they're there and the Jaegers are there is showing that this mission is really important to the Empire, which involves this massive religious sect known as the Path of Peace. These guys are kind of weird and creepy, but that's only because their leader actually has all of these weird, like, naked chicks all around him. It kind of reminds me of James Earl Jones from Conan the Barbarian. The first battle is between Ibarra and Akame, and it is awesome! Mostly just because of how well animated it is, and I just love the setting in a graveyard at night. It's just a really cool setting for a battle, and he is able to dodge most of her attacks, but she actually ends up ditching her sword and snapping his neck, and then ends up just cutting him up completely and ripping his arms off. The other battle this week, which is definitely one of the highlights, is Lubbock versus Sten and Mez. Sten is just this big, burly, bearded guy who has these crazy-looking eyes, and Lubbock takes him out in one of the coolest ways possible. Lubbock tries to run away because he's trying to save this girl, and he sets up his razor wire, and as this guy is running at him at full speed, he's about to have his head decapitated by this, and he tries to stop it by using his beard. It's so freaking metal! And then eventually he gets caught by Lubbock when he throws one of his spears at his body, and then the threads get in his body and literally rip his heart to pieces. It's bloody, it's unapologetic, and it's just damn awesome. And it's followed by another action scene where he fights against that girl Mez, and she literally can manipulate her sweat and use it as a weapon, which is creepy in and of itself. When Lubbock actually finishes her off, it's very brutal and quick, and it's actually very dark, but it's made real funny by the fact when Lubbock is running away and lamenting over the fact that things could have gone much differently if they didn't have to fight each other. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Akame ga Kill, kicked all sorts of ass, my friends. It was a really great package, and it had a lot of great things going for it. I am kind of annoyed by the fact that we didn't really get to see too much of the reactions from Night Raid over the death of Chelsea, although they've made it very clear since the beginning of the series that anyone can die at any moment, and they have to be prepared for anything and to continue on with the mission. Clearly, they were focusing on Tatsumi, thinking about that the most, considering he's the main character of the series, but I would have liked a little bit more. And it is creepy, just the fact that Esdeath actually dissected her body, and they actually fed the remains to Koro, Serio's weapon. That's just really freaking messed up. I don't know what it is. But the best thing about this week's episode for me personally was Lubbock. I was waiting for like his big episode. He's had a lot of funny scenes and a few small action scenes throughout the whole series, but this one was definitely showcasing what his all abilities are about, just the way he can use his strings. And I love the fact that he actually took them from this danger beast, which looks like the dragon from Dragon Ball Z. And that's just, you know, if it's ever associated with a dragon, it's like the strongest type of material possible. And he can use it in a number of different ways. He turned it into a big axe and a spear that can literally disconnect and rip you to pieces from the inside. That in and of itself is brutal. The Rakshasa demons were also a lot of fun this week. They had some really crazy, batshit crazy personalities. Their designs were awesome, even though pretty much all of them were killed off, except for that one girl who, I don't even know what she's capable of quite yet. Clearly, they're saving her for something special, and I can't wait to see what that's all about. Otherwise, this episode had a lot of great humor, a lot of great action, really great music cues, and they're beginning a new arc, which looks like it's really, really exciting. This was just a fun episode of the series. I really loved it. It wasn't a perfect episode. There were some scenes they could have cut all together just to save for time, maybe give us a little more action. Otherwise, this was a pretty stellar episode of Akame ga Kill that if you're a fan of the series, you should definitely check out. And if you're still on the fence about watching this show, if you like action, and you like anime, and your expectations aren't going through the frickin' roof, watch this show. It's a lot of fun. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it is just so freaking entertaining. I love it. It's one of the best action shows I've seen of the entire year. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Check it out, guys. Badass stuff. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and like the video. Before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Akame ga Kill. And if you guys have not subscribed to our channel, you can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here. You guys can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.